Alrighty, so it is Good Friday, March 29th. Um, I had the day off. I took it off, but it worked out perfectly because I scheduled it a while back, but I realized Godzilla and Kong came out today or last night, so that was perfect. And that's what I went to go see, Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire. I don't even really call it The New Empire. I just call it Godzilla and Kong because the last one was Godzilla versus Kong. Um, Definitely going to be a spoiler review. I'll go through some non-spoiler stuff real quick, but I'll basically say that's the end of that, and then we'll get to everything else. So, the movie, it's it's a pretty solid movie. I mean, from the get-go, I'll tell you, would I watch it again? Absolutely. Am I like yearning to watch it again? No, not like Godzilla minus one or Oppenheimer or Guardians 3, where I was like, or Dune 2, where I'm like, man, I really want to go back and watch it. I'll probably buy it when it comes on Blu-ray. Mind you, I'm yawning because I was up till 1 a.m. last night. My cats woke me up. Really haven't been able to sleep, so you're about to get the yawn fest meter. So, I mean, from the get go, I'm gonna say I'm looking at my notes too. It's like a 7 out of 10. I'd recommend it, but it just really, the variables are like, are you a fan of this? Did you like the last movies? Do you like action movies? And so it really just depends on you. So it's a pretty solid movie, very action focused, heavily action focused. There is dialogue, but also, I'm not saying this as a complaint. I'm saying there was actually a lot of fight scenes and stuff. I was actually glad about that, focusing on the monsters quite often. Incredibly fast-paced, no room to sit and breathe on any moment, regardless of its emotional weight, which is 100% true. Man, this movie just, I mean, from the get-go, you're like, oh my god, go, 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 go. No stop, no stop, no stop, no stop. I mean, I was like, wow. This movie, I mean, we were watching Godzilla versus Kong, and my wife was like, this movie is so fucking long and kind of boring. Which, having rewatched it, wasn't as bad as I remembered, but it is somewhat long where you're like, holy shit, can we stop with the podcaster bullshit? But, in saying that, which I'm about to get to, so, this movie, honestly how I felt about the last movie too, is very Kong-focused. Godzilla is not really in this one. I feel like even less than the last one. Yeah, there's more emotions with Kong. Feels very, very human. And you really understand, without having to have dialogue, what he's feeling and what he's going through. They did not bring back Millie Bobby Brown, which is completely fine with me, because having rewatched Godzilla and Kong versus Kong, I just kept thinking, they made her so batshit crazy. And even while rewatching King of the Monsters, I'm like, wow, her mom was like literally a fucking dummy and severely mentally ill. So no wonder her daughter is too, where she thinks showering bleach is, okay. They did bring back Bernie, the podcaster, and honestly, I actually did find him enjoyable and funny in this one, whereas in the other one I was like, dude, he's annoying the shit out of me. And it could be because they introduced a new character. Trapper is his name. He's a British guy, Mr. Funny Man. He's a Titan vet, which it's like, okay, but he's always like super, he's like, because I'm a vet, like a mosquito bites him, and he's like, I couldn't dare slap this mosquito because she needs this blood more than I do for her babies. And I'm like, oh, man. God, that's the type of friend where you're like, can you shut your fucking mouth? But there's that. They do a lot more with the daughter of the main scientist lady. I can't remember her name. Can't remember the daughter's name either. But give her more screen time, which I do have some problems with, which I'll go in more. But basically, fun action movie. I would say worth watching. If you've already watched the other MonsterVerse movies and you're here, which is crazy that in 10 years, this is the fourth movie Because it's like, they're like, everything's led up to this moment. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like Avengers Endgame or Infinity War. It just feels like another team up movie. So, yeah, hopefully this isn't the finale, because it doesn't feel like a finale. But that's about it for that part. I mean, what was that? Yeah, 5 minutes. So the rest is going to be spoilers. And so I've got my notes for the spoilers kind of all over the fucking place, because I was just thinking about it while I was driving, talking to my wife, thinking about things. So, and also there's something on my shirt here. I was eating a pretzel with like a ranch or something, and somehow got all over me. Maybe I'm just a messy eater, but I go to, if you're in Oklahoma City or by Edmond, Flick's Brew House, man. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I've been going them for a long time. They're, I wouldn't say premium theater experience, but I think you get a good value. I think most of their food is good. Good service. So I like to go there and watch my movies, because honestly, I'll be real, to just completely get out of this video real quick. I'm just so tired of more public theaters where there's like children all the time, and like teenagers and people who just like to ruin the fucking movie. So when I go to this place, Flick's Brew House, usually almost, I think 99.9% of the time, my experiences have been great, and everyone's super respectful, because you're paying a little bit more of that premium price. But back to the spoilers for Godzilla and Kong. So the first part I have is, I do not know how Monarch is still a secret organization. When friends of employees can casually go and see Kong, why would Monarch not have their own vet team? Why do they only have to rely on Trapper? Bernie is allowed to come to the Hollow Earth so easily. Okay, so with that, Monarch, they still go like, the U.S. government, is trying to ask Monarch what's going on. I'm like, nothing is being hidden. They just fucking let like their buddy come in and out of the building, see everything, see Kong. Kong just comes out in the open. So I'm like, what are you even hiding at this point? You're not hiding the kaijus and the titans. Everyone knows about them. You're not hiding shit. But they keep still going like, the U.S. military's wondering what Monarch's up to. I'm like, what? Like, with how I've seen security is, they're not hiding anything. And yeah, they bring... Yeah, okay, so when they finally get to the Hollow Earth, because they've already got a research station and everything, they're like, hey, we're going to do a recon. The main lady, Trapper, the vet, which she's like, oh, just come on, because we don't apparently have, like, a Kong health team doctor or anything. My daughter, because I told her, wherever you go, I go. So she's like, I'll bring my daughter, but stay closer to me in this dangerous, uncharted world. Then Bernie comes, the podcaster, who might end up, like, selling information on the web, because he's like, nobody believes me. They bring one guard, who's also the pilot. And that's it. No, hey, we have this craft of these guys, we'll send 2 more crafts of guards and stuff, because we haven't heard back from the radio research team. No, they send you 1 guard. Are you freaking kidding me? Come on. And like I said, I'm not trying to nitpick, but I was like, what a team. What a team. Towards the beginning, when it shows Godzilla, he kills a kaiju in about 10 seconds. You barely see the fight. Okay, so the first kaiju he fights in the movie, Scylla, in Rome, I believe. He kills it in like 20 seconds. I mean, just throws it and then stomps on it, lasers its fucking mouth, and it dies. And one thing that didn't make sense to me is that Scylla, whatever the hell you want to call it, at the end of King of the Monsters, was bowing to Godzilla. So in that time frame, what exactly has happened where they don't view Godzilla as the king of the monsters anymore? And what happened to the, like, Behemoth and Rodan and in the others? And I swear, if someone tells me that I need to go read some obscure comic book or something, I'm gonna be like, how about no? I shouldn't have to read a comic book for the movie. Like, for the movie series, I shouldn't have to read a bunch of comic books. If they make comic books, it should be to, like, elevate something maybe that you were missing from the movies, but to outright add like this is what happened to that character, it's like that should have been explained to me in the movie. So I just found that weird. Later in the movie, Godzilla kills another Titan called Tiamat, which they're like, oh my god, Tiamat, like, oh, like he's so dangerous. Kills it in, I swear to God, like 20 seconds or less. There's just, you already don't really see Godzilla, and so the fact that Godzilla fights two kaiju before the end of the movie, but it's just like, bam. It's unfortunate, They give you, I guess, more than the 2014 Godzilla, but it's still like, okay. Godzilla isn't really in the movie. I said that, and just like with the last movie, Godzilla is painted more of the villain while Kong is the real hero. So, honestly, even from Godzilla 2014, after rewatching, because I binge watched them all last night, I was watching them with my wife, we were sitting there kind of like, it does get slightly annoying when Sarazal was like, no, 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 we gotta let Godzilla fight it out. Godzilla is our protector. Godzilla is our hero. And it's like, I get it what you're saying, but Godzilla also is like murdering a bunch of people. And in Godzilla versus Kong and this one, I mean, so anytime there's a threat, Godzilla will rampage, kill a bunch of people to get to the end goal. That doesn't sound like a protector to me necessarily, whereas Kong is truly more of a like sentient moral hero that doesn't fall for that stuff and tries, I feel, more to avoid killing human beings. So, let's see. I just find it a little odd how people can even say Godzilla is a protector when Godzilla easily gets fooled. Yep, okay. Oh yeah, so in the beginning of the movie, Monarch talks about how their plan is that Godzilla will deal with the rogue titans, but that still results in thousands of deaths. So yeah, they're like, well, what do we do about the other titans? And the scientist lady's like, well, Godzilla keeps them in check. And they're so like, oh, well, the answer is Godzilla. I'm like, yeah, but then you see that he's like destroying cities to kill one monster, and seems to really just like laser breath everything. You're like, oh, Jesus Christ, like, can we see the news report and how many people keep freaking dying? Is this really the best alternative? Let's see. None of these movies really go over how thousands, if not millions, of people have died due to Godzilla. I still sometimes wonder also the power levels of the kaiju and titans. Godzilla, and this might get super specific, but Godzilla killed King Ghidorah, an alien hydra that can regenerate, but struggles against a giant monkey. Now that can be because the great apes are more agile and have hands and can use tools. So with that, after watching King of the Monsters, where Godzilla just, goes ham with King Ghidorah, sometimes it feels like where I'm thinking like, you're having trouble with a monkey. And, I'm sure the old movies, I'd have to rewatch them. It was the same thing, I guess. But, I guess you defeated King Ghidorah. And I know you went nuclear. But even before that, you're putting up a pretty good fight before he dropped you from the sky. But that was just something. And then my next point is the sizing also seems to be off. Okay, so where the Scar King is smaller than Kong, which he is, but in both scenes, spoilers, where on one scene you see the Scar King riding Shimo, and towards the end when Kong is riding Shimo, they look the same, even though Shimo is bigger than Godzilla, and Kong is bigger than Scar King, but then everything sizing-wise looks the same. They also set up, in the beginning, that's another thing, that Kong has like a bad tooth, so they give him a full metal tooth, and they're basically like, oh, it's made from this polypolymer or whatever metal thing that's basically unbreakable. And then they don't ever do anything. I had the hint that, because the Scar King looks at his tooth and starts laughing, I was like, are we about to get a scene where he like bites something real hard? I don't know. Something? Nothing. Nothing comes from it. I was a little shocked. I thought they were setting something up. The scene where Kong meets the baby ape and the imprisoned apes is fantastic. I wish we could have gotten a longer version of that scene as he and the Scar King immediately start fighting. Okay, so with that, I love they finally did the whole like Kong searching for a family. You see how lonely he is in the beginning, and then the moment he sees the little ape, I mean, he's sitting there like, holy shit, I can't, he just drops his axe and is like, come towards me. And then, the ape bites him and tries to attack him. Good fight scene, because there's like guard apes that come, and I mean, they're fighting, and they've got little shivs, and even when they're fighting, Kong is so desperate to even just be with another ape, even in the presence of one, that he tries to save it. The ape tries to stab him, so he fucking kicks him off the cliff. And then he grabs the little baby ape and starts just slapping and beating the shit out of the other apes with it. And my wife was like, I thought he was going to be nice to that baby. And he's fucking just beating the shit out of the baby. It's pretty funny. That was a good scene. And yeah, when he goes to the area where all the apes are and meets the Scar King, it had just happened so quick where I wish there was a little bit more back and forth. There's a little bit of some stuff, but then it's just bam, fights the Scar King. Bam, the Scar King's not even really losing. Boom, Shimo. Okay, Kong gets defeated. Next scene. It's like, God, I just wish we had a little bit more time with these really cool, and mind you, there's no dialogue on those scenes, but God, the expressions just say everything. It was just awesome. Okay, so here's and maybe, it's a nitpick. You're told the Scar King is imprisoned in like a fire prison, but there's nothing actually stopping them. They've been around for hundreds of thousands of years and never thought to venture out and try to escape. So what I mean by that is they're reading a story where they're like, he tried to rise up and Godzilla beat his ass and put him in a fire prison. There's nothing actually holding them back. I mean, when Kong meets the baby ape and the guard apes, they're just roaming around the subterranean area within the Hollow Earth. But Kong was able to get there, no trouble. There's no really actual like impenetrable barrier. There is like a camouflage barrier that a human can just rip with their hands. And it's not like it's see-through where you're like, I mean, it's just there. And you're telling me I think the Scar King potentially might be like 1,000,000 years old or whatever. He, in all that time, even if it's 1,000 years, he hasn't ventured out and been like, I haven't seen that Mothra fella. I haven't seen Godzilla. Well, let me just go through there. It just kind of took me for a surprise where I'm thinking, dude, like, you don't really see him imprisoned. They definitely do, I don't know if I'd say a good job, but subtle hints of how he really is a disgusting monster. When Kong is walking in, there's a bunch of great ape heads on pikes, and you're like, wow, holy shit. But then there's this real quick, like, pan and you'll miss it almost moment where something's happening. The Scar King's like getting up from his throne, and it pans right next to him. There's a bunch of female apes with babies, and all the babies look like the baby that Kong's been helping, that look like the Scar King. No other ape looks like that brownish orange color. And so the insinuation, my wife thought the same thing, and you're like, oh, that's fucked. That's messed up. But they showed it. They showed that scene clearly, that quick pan to be like, oh, he's a monster. The Scar King himself is a neat idea, but he does seem to lose fairly quickly without Shimo. Yeah, absolutely. He would have lost even quicker. Shimo is an interesting titan. I wish they did more with it, as somehow it's the Scar King's prison and under control with a magic rock. So I feel like they made Shimo not really look too threatening. What are you doing? My cat's up there. Just looks kind of like more of like a cute, whiter Godzilla. I don't know if it would have been any better or more predictable if they were like, oh, the Scar King actually has a, type of Godzilla in captivity. I don't know if that would have been too like on the nose, but I think the idea of Shimo's cool. I don't remember that being a kaiju from any other movie. I In my head I was thinking, I wonder if they could have just done Anguirus or something else. I mean, we've already had an alien, Monster Zero Ghidorah. We could have had Gigan or whatever. Um, Fuck, you could have probably done Space Godzilla at that point. Um, they just don't do much with it, and it's being controlled by the Scar King, with this magic pointy rock thing that he can just use to magically control Shimo. They don't really explain it, but yeah, the movie focuses mainly on Kong and the Scar King, then the scientist lady and her child, who is being called to the Hollow Earth for a reason, and the last part of the story is what Godzilla's up to. The only thing that doesn't make full sense to me, okay, about the Iwi girl being the key to awaken Mothra, yep, is that in King of the Monsters, and mind you, in most of the other Godzilla movies, it's been established that the two twin scientist women were linked to Mothra and always have been since basically the dawn of time. I felt, neglected all of that story, and they just changed it. So I remember even from the 90s Godzilla movies, when it comes to Mothra, there's always like the two, Japanese or just Asian women in general, like twin ladies that basically always serve with Mothra. And they set that up in King of the Monsters. You're like, oh, neat. And then in this movie, they're like, oh, she's being called down here by her people because she's the only one that can summon Mothra. And I was like, what? Why? Where's the two scientist ladies from King of the Monsters? Just no mention of them. Okay, I mean, I know things can break canon, I guess. It was just, I noticed that instantly when they said that, and I was thinking, okay. It was a little odd. Oh, okay, so another part. And at this point, maybe, honestly, this is more of a nitpick. So in Kong Skull Island, the Iwi people have been established to, like, they don't show emotion. They're past human, human rivalries and emotions, blah, blah, blah. They're very just collected. And when you first meet the Iwi people in the Hollow Earth in this movie, that's how they act. But then, by the end of the movie, you're seeing like Iwi children laugh, and they're running around, they're playing, and even the adults are smiling. And then by the end, like even the highest elder princess or queen is like smiling. And so in one movie, it's like flip-flopping, like, well, the Iwi people like how they were in Kong Skull Island, or can they show emotion? Because when they first meet him, they're not showing emotion, and then by the end, they're like all smiley and giggly. So I thought, okay, like, a little weird. That is about all I had from my notes. Basically, it's a fun movie, and it's hard because my wife asked me, like, well, which one's your favorite of the MonsterVerse? Honestly, hard to say. I don't really have a pure favorite. I can appreciate Godzilla 2014 for being so grounded and being really good with, like, making you feel these monsters are just incredibly huge. I love Kong Skull Island. I think they did a great movie for Kong. Godzilla King of the Monsters, I think, was a fun monster movie, but the mom being as stupid as she is just annoys the shit out of me. Millie Bobby Brown wasn't bad in that movie. Godzilla vs. Kong, I like Mechagodzilla, I like Kong, I like, Godzilla, them fighting. That's something I'll mention, I almost forgot. So in Godzilla vs. Kong, the ending fight scene in Hong Kong, dope. Because neon lights, nights might be hard to see them a little bit. Cool backdrop. And then by the time they fight Mechagodzilla, you're still in the big city. You're like, okay, we haven't necessarily seen it like this zoomed out, so cool. In this movie, they fight in the city again. And I just felt like, I was like, this just seems like the same backdrop as the last movie. And the last fight, to me, was pretty anticlimactic. It was honestly awesome seeing Kong throw the Scar King, I think, or Shimo, and Godzilla freaking back spinning, tail hitting it. That was fun. That was cool. Seeing Godzilla and Kong fight again in Egypt, that was fun. I like that. Honestly, seeing Kong beat the shit out of Godzilla was pretty satisfying. And um yeah, I don't know. The last fight was I liked like the fights in the earlier part of the movie more than the end. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. I wanted to talk about the monster designs because for the Hollow Earth being like, ooh, you know, it's this thing that's been untouched. I was hoping the monster designs would be a little bit more creative. There are, right when the movie starts, these cool wolves that are chasing Kong, but it's like disgusting rotted mouth and their eyes are like right here. I like that. That was like, that's neat. Just wish we got more of that. There's a giant serpent that attacks Kong, but it just kind of looks like a serpent. I was hoping, you know, something. I don't, you know, in my head I'm imagining like, I guess it might be too on the nose with Gamera, but like a serpent, but it has like an elongated turtle shell almost. So it's just this hardened snake thing, and maybe you could, you know, have open mandibles with little arms, or I don't even know. I mean, it should almost be like beyond imagination because it's just crazy ass monster shit. Which that was a fight where it kind of you're like, oh my god, like Kong's about to fight this crazy serpent, and then it just cuts and he killed it. You're like, okay, all right. But yeah, I think that's about it. You know, these notes I made, they're kind of all over the place because I was just trying to think of it as I was coming home. I think that's for the most of it. I think it's worth watching. You know, after rewatching all of the MonsterVerse movies, it's interesting how it gets from very grounded and like serious, I guess, to very lighthearted and just more about the action, which is fine with me. It's just crazy having rewatched from Godzilla 2014 to now. It's pretty different. Yeah, don't know if they'll make more. If they make more, yeah, I'll go watch it. If they don't, hey, I mean, I guess that's the end. Crazy to think it was only 4 movies in 10 years. But I guess that will be it for me for this video. Didn't think it'd be 27 minutes long. I know it's kind of me more rambling. It's not really structured, but I do appreciate people who've been watching. I know people liked my Dune review. That was without spoilers. This one I felt I really couldn't do without spoiling to really express how I feel. So, yeah. I watched it, matinee, $10. I think you'll have a good time. Honestly, if you have kids, they'd probably enjoy this too. I think it's a fun time, and I don't think there's anything too dark where, you know, it's like, ooh, I don't think my kids should be watching that. I mean, Kong in the beginning grabs one of the wolves, and you see him just ripping it right here, and all the guts and green blood just spill all over him, and he's just like screaming his head off. I don't know. If you think that's too much for a kid, then maybe not, but it's a fun movie. But finally, that is going to be it for me. Thank you for watching. I'm out.